10 important things to know before working in London. With 8.98 million of population, it's quite a wonder that London has been able to attract numerous people of different races and religions. London is without a doubt an epicenter of the business hub, and most of the biggest companies in the world operate in London. The higher employment opportunities have led so many people to move to London. The advanced quality hospitals offer the excellent healthcare services to the people. The public transport system is well connected throughout the city, providing people with hassle-free transportation facilities. However, there are quite a few important things to know before working in London. UK visas and work permits. Initially, getting a UK visa is a must condition in order for working in London. That allows people to enter into the UK. After obtaining the visa, a work permit is needed for people to be qualified for working in London. The work permit has certain requirements which must be satisfied before working in London. The requirements are as follows. People looking to work should have a confirmed offer of employment from a licensed UK employer. The applicant must have the certificate of sponsorship issued by their employer. A point-based assessment must be passed in order to be eligible for working in London. These assessments vary according to the type of work permit you are aiming to obtain. The application process is led by the licensed UK employer for granting the applicant with the work permit. The applicant has to register the national insurance number, which not only allows them to work, but also to open a bank account and get a phone. UK tax. Each person working in London is obliged to pay the income tax on their salaries. The tax is not only applied on the current earnings, but it is also applicable benefits, pension and saving interests. The tax percentage varies on the income bracket of workers. Basic rates of income tax on earned income is 20% for salaries between £12,501 and £50,000. A higher rate of income tax on earned income is 40% for salaries £50,001 to £150,000. Top rates of income tax on earned income is 45% for salaries above £150,000. In self-employment scenarios, the worker is supposed to keep the records of their earnings and pay annual tax accordingly. The tax system of the country also allows relief for the workers. Tax relief is applied to pension contributions, charity donations and maintenance payments. It can also be applied in cases of self-employment. National minimum wage. Almost every worker in London is eligible for the national minimum wage. You have to be of school-leaving age to get national minimum wage and age 23 to get national living wage. These wages are categorised according to the age limits of the workers. Apprentices have their minimum wage of £4.30. Under 18s have their minimum wage of £4.62. People of age from 18 to 20 have their minimum wage of £6.56. People of age from 21 to 22 have their minimum wage of £8.36. People of age of 23 or above have their minimum wage of £8.91. The eligibility of national minimum wages does not depend on the nature of the contracts, permanent or temporary, whether it is part-time or full-time. It is also independent of the fact that whether employees work in employers' workplaces or if it is a remote-based job. Significance of CV. Although it is not a necessity and can vary from company to company, a person looking to work in London should have a CV and an online presence. It is absolutely a plus point given the influence of online systems. Unless a worker is self-employed or owns a business, CV is not necessary. However, if a person is applying in a corporate environment, a CV becomes an absolute need as it is one of the vital professional requirements for the employer to judge the applicant's performance and past work experience. Online social and professional platforms such as LinkedIn has also proved to be one of the most useful sources for job hunting and job providing for numerous well-established companies in London. Networking in London. Many of the jobs are not found on the internet or ads, and networking has proven to be an effective tool in this regard. Researchers found that 80% of the jobs are not found directly and can be known from communicating and networking with people. Building strong and more connections while living in London can be highly beneficial for a person to land on the right job. Social media platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn have by far helped many people in communicating regarding work opportunities and hiring. Given the higher population diversity in London, communicating with others can greatly aid in obtaining exposure and learning skills to land on a suitable job in London. Residence in London. If you don't already own a place in London, then you must get ready to get caught in high residential expenses. London has quite high property and real estate prices in contrast to the average pay of a worker. Living in London is difficult since renting is not cheap either. Before working in London, one must be well aware of the expenses of residing there. The average rental costs are £781 per week and can range from £202 to £17,000 per week. If a worker is not paid well enough and simultaneously living in an expensive zone of London, such as central London, critical situations might force them to think about relocating. This can also result in for the worker to find another job where the rental costs are generally lower. Hence, before applying for a job, one must research well regarding the property and rental prices. Minimum holidays rule. Almost all the workers in London who work 5 days per week are allowed paid annual leave of approximately 5.6 weeks or 28 days. Apart from full-time or part-time workers, the leave is applicable to agency workers, workers with irregular hours, and workers on zero-hour contracts. For part-time workers, 5.6 weeks is applicable, but this will calculate to less than 28 days. For instance, if a person works for 2 days a week, then their annual paid leave will be 11.2 days. Similarly, for 3 days a week, the annual paid leave will be 16.8 days. People working on irregular hours can get an off for every hour they work, and they can calculate their leave accordingly. Bank holidays are not to be given as paid leave, but the final decision rests with the company's policy whether they want to include bank holidays in a worker's annual leave or not. Notice periods. A notice period is given out to the employer before their employment ends. The notice period given by the employer can be greater than the statutory minimum, but no less than it. As far as the statutory notice periods are concerned, they are listed as follows. If the employee has worked for 1 month to 2 years, then 1 week's notice is applicable in that situation. The employee gets a 12 weeks notice if they have worked under their employer for 12 years or more. Regarding the statutory redundancy pay, the employee is paid their notice period. The other way is to pay the employee what they would have been paid through notice period and end their services almost immediately. Long notice period refers to the amount of time employees have to stay in their role after their resignation. In the UK, this is normally applied on full-time salaried people. Lower-level employees working in London get long notice periods of around 1 month. Higher executive level might receive long notice period of around half or even a year. As far as part-time workers are concerned, their long notice periods depend on their contracts and companies' policies. National Insurance Number. The National Insurance or NI number is given to every tax-paying worker. This number is unique and is used to keep track of the tax collection. If a person is above 16 years or they earn above £184 a week or are self-employed and making profit of £6,515 or more a year, then they are bound to pay national insurance contributions. There are various national insurance classes. If a person reaches the state pension age, they are supposed to stop paying from some of these classes in accordance to their nature of their employment, self-employed or not. Transportation. London offers one of the most efficient and strongly connected transportation systems which accommodates hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis. However, before working in London, one must be aware of the locality of their office. There are no such average travelling costs within London, using public transportation or by other means. These costs vary significantly depending on the travelling distance. Before opting for a suitable job in London, you must keep in mind the transportation costs. For instance, if your residence is in Zone 6 and your workplace is in Zone 1, the daily travel costs will be high, which might be a bothering issue for you. We now know that living in London and working there is not an easy task. A significant part of the pays of the workers goes to taxes, national insurance contributions, transportations and residence, if you don't own a place in London. Regardless of that, the perks received from tax paying are numerous. With right and smart decisions, you can find suitable work up to the standards and flourish in this society as a whole. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to comment, subscribe and turn on the notification bell.